as promised, we need to chat about this new currency because I've seen your tweets, I've seen the messages, and I've seen the memes, and I'm sure you can agree, Zoe. Most of them are, what is this? Monopoly money. I saw one tweet, one caption said that, like, what's happening here?
I've just seen the negative and I'm so sick of it.
So now it's important that I'd like to understand. And sometimes you find the right people to explain. Now, I could have got a spokesperson over here, but what's the point of getting a spokesperson when you can actually get the Deputy Governor of the South African Reserve Bank, Dr Rashad Cassim, to come and join you on the flash drive in KFM 94.5 just to unpack. So welcome, Deputy Governor. It is great to have you. It really is. Thanks a lot for making time for us. I know you're super busy and just got off a flight, but I wanted to chat about the new currency with somebody who knows what they're talking about, as opposed to somebody wielding social media in the way they see fit.
Yeah.
So welcome. First and foremost, I think what is the big question for anybody is we were happy with the little money that we had. Now we have new currency. So talk to me about why South Africa would implement new currency.
Thank you very much. So it's really what we do is that currency, many countries have currency that have to be from time to time upgraded. Upgrade means that in the case of notes, you're looking at 6 to 8 months, 8 years. In the case of coins, which are more tricky, you're looking at 20 years and so on. The whole idea, I mean, the most important part of a currency upgrade is security features. As you know that security becomes a big issue.
Yeah.
If our currency is subject to all sorts of counterfeiting and so on, we're in serious trouble. So one of the main drivers for an upgrade is really security. But there are the objectives. The objective of I would say broadly inclusion. So for the blind, we try to improve the tactile features of the note. And then, there's a third objective, which is a byproduct of this, and this is kind of celebrating the country's heritage, tell a story. Many countries use currency to tell a story about the heritage, about important emblems, important symbols of our country. And I guess that's the sum of why we do this.
It's very exciting. I know that when anybody wields social media in a certain way, they're going to have an opinion about it. But today was the first time I interacted with the currency. I'm just going to let you know.
I've got it here.
So Zoe in her hand has got the 20 Rand note. And so far, differences, expectation versus reality.
I think online they've been showing images of the new currency which looked a lot more brighter. This is not as bright as what I've seen online. It's beautiful. But I'm most fascinated that the 20 Rand now has 3 little elephants, like a little family of elephants on it.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Without, speaking out of the design shop of where this comes from, but I'm always intrigued as to, the process by, which you follow to see, what type of things are you going to choose? Because we have so many different things. You're in Cape Town now, Deputy Governor. We have a Gatsby here that could have been up for a 10 Rand note. I'm sitting, but, just that process of finding the inspiration, finding the right type of icons of our country. What type of process is that like, without getting into too much detail?
Well, as a poor student in the Cape, I lived on the Gatsby.
You understand.
So it has a very special resonance with me, but I felt that the experience is not countrywide. What we do is really... So Nelson Mandela as the first democratic leader.
Yes.
Different ways of presenting Nelson Mandela is obviously one part of it. The big five. Some of prominent plants and birds. It's I guess the sum of it.
Yes.
Is that someone can tell a story through the notes and coins. It tells a story about this country's natural assets. It celebrates democracy. It tells a story about one of our most important tourist attractions, the Big Five. And designers link the Big Five to all sorts of things like, the rhino represents accountability. The leopard represents integrity. So, you kind of, some of these are some of the things that we think about. What can one draw from from many of these symbols and so on.
Wow, you just detailed something very intriguing there, Deputy Governor. So you're saying that each one of these notes represents a value of South Africa and the South African Reserve Bank.
Yep. So there's a value system. We have respect and trust, which is the majestic elephants. We have the courage and honor of the leopard reflects independence and integrity. So these are the kind of things that we often think about. What I would encourage your listeners to do is to go into the app on the site, and all the information. It's an interactive app on how the currency works. So those are really useful if you're really interested in getting into that.
I was today years old where I realized that each one of those colors and also those animals, like each note represents a value. I did not know.
Yep.
I did not know that.
As a SA citizen, that's crazy.
And now I understand why the Hadida is not on our money.
The Hadida would have been perfect, because the way we complain about not having money, it happens. Would have been perfect, Starting off with a controversial spelling error. Now, as you know, a lot of people have the opinion that South Africa is quite a movie. We have a lot of very interesting things that happen. The spelling error was a big one, and this was for the Xitsonga translation on one of the banknotes. Do you want to respond to the spelling error debacle?
Yeah, the governor was on radio last night, and I guess we go through enormous lengths to make sure that everything is done properly.
Yes.
When it comes to all the different languages, we rely on the final arbiter, the final stamp of this is the Language Statutory Board of this country.
Okay.
And they gave it the thumbs up. They confirmed that this is the proper spelling, and reconfirmed that it is the proper spelling. So at this stage, we're relying on the statutory authority, the Language Board, to confirm this, and they've confirmed that it is the proper spelling.
Banginkulu was the controversial phrase over there for the Reserve Bank. But so as long as the Language Board was consulted, it was ratified, it was approved as well, no spelling error there. Let's move on to the 500 Rand note. There was, I don't know if it's fake news, but there was a report that we actually had on the show when that report came out about a 500 Rand banknote. In fact, I actually asked listeners what type of animal, and they didn't mention the Gatsby being on the note, but it's fine. The Hardy Dog did actually pop up, funnily enough, it did in that day. So for us to have these increments, clearly there's something to it. 10 Rand, 20 Rand, 50 Rand, 100 Rand, 200 Rand. There's obviously a reason behind it. So the 500 Rand note, will there ever be such a thing in South Africa?
So that's a good question, bearing in mind that we have inflation and you can ask the question, why is it that we haven't had anything above $100 note, $200 note?
Yes.
What we do is throughout, the process between upgraded notes and so on, we do surveys. We look at what are the most used notes. So, not surprisingly, 20 Rand, 50 Rand, those are heavily used notes. So the main thing is that, the moment people go above a certain threshold, then they start using credit cards, digital forms of payments. So our decision to kind of, keep the full suite of standard notes and coins is really based on analysis of what people are really demanding. So at this stage, there was no discussion of 500 Rand notes. Later on, depending on on increases, that's something we'll review. The same point goes for why produce 10 cents and 20 cents, and we found that in informal sector, in many parts of the country, those are used. So our decision to print and manufacture these coins is really a function of it being used. If we found that there was very little usage of it, we wouldn't
Yes.
print or produce them.
Okay, so this is obviously with regard to usage that would denote
That
the demand,
determines it, yeah.
and
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and then the demand will definitely get you to create that. That's a very, very good. We actually got that question in. I have a few more questions that have come through, and just to honor the fact that I asked you for them, I might as well put it to the Deputy Governor over here. Here's the first one.
Hi, Colin Zoe. I have a question for the Deputy President. How much money is placed into circulation? Is it the same amount of money that's taken out at a particular time, or how does it work?
Mr. Deputy President, would you care to answer?
I would be fired if I pretend to be the Deputy President. Far from that.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, look, at the moment there's something like about 170 billion rand in circulation.
Wow.
And so by upgrading the notes, we're not adding new notes automatically to circulation.
Okay.
What we're doing is two things. The first is that when old notes get destroyed because they're not used anymore, they're not in a respectable form, we then replace old notes with new notes. So that's essentially the process. So often, banks monthly will say, we'll check the quality of the notes.
Okay.
It's less so with coins, to destroy coins.
Yes.
But given some notes in 2 years' time, because they circulated a lot, are less recognizable. There are parts of it that are not respectable. So in that sense, we replace new notes with old notes. So that's the one part of it.
Yes.
The other part of it is it depends what the demand is. So banks come to us and say, we need more notes. The public is demanding more notes.
Yes.
So that's the second part of it. So the notes in circulation fluctuates
Yes.
depending on what the public needs. So that's really the process around what happens with circulation.
I wonder about how many people have, those notes under their mattress, whether those older notes will be, valid. And will there ever be a time where the currency we have right now will then be moved off? I remember in South Africa, we had a 5 Rand note at a stage with, it's a very, very, I think Jan van Riebeeck was on that note.
Yeah. So we call it, we countries call it demonetization.
Okay.
That's the nice word. But at this stage, all currency is legal tender. The
All
old,
right.
the new. So the public have nothing to worry about.
Perfect. Thank you so much for all the information. The last question that I would like to leave this conversation with, because I feel like you need to be a regular on the show. We will have a Deputy Governor session, but this came through, and I love this. It's relevant, given our socioeconomics.
Carl, we all know that South Africa is in debt. Why can't these guys just print more money so that we can be able to pay our own debt?
That's what you call a drop mic question there.
Yeah.
Why can't we just print more money and then pay off our debt and be happy and merry?
What's the usual economist answer? There's no free lunch. Imagine if we could do it. Imagine if we could just print money, pay our ESCOM debt, pay every debt. In fact, one of the reasons
Yes.
why you have inflation not running at 2,000%
Yeah.
is because you've got a credible central bank who ensures that we keep inflation in check. If you used the central bank just to print cheap money
Yeah.
and pay for every debt, we'll have a very serious inflation problem. There's scarcity in the economy,
Yeah.
and throwing money at it doesn't unfortunately solve that problem.
Okay, I completely understood over there. I just wanted to find out. It was a good question. I feel like I
You're
set the
hopeful
person-
in you.
Yeah, I'm definitely hopeful. You mentioned that we can get onto the South African Reserve Bank's resources to find out more, because I know that each color of the note represents values. We've got so many other little factors that really speak to national pride, which I love about our currency. It means it's something that we interact with. We have to look no further than that to feel proud of our country. And I think that's the main narrative here that I'm feeding. In fact, in your publications, you say that you want people to use money with confidence and with pride. And I think that's the greatest thing about the SA Reserve Bank. So the new currency and the new look, it's out there. It's feeling good. I mean, the more I get, the more, I feel good as well. But thank you very much, Deputy Governor, for answering some tough questions, especially the last one. But I believe you're part of an info session that happens this evening where we can ask some more questions. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes.
Lovely. So you'll be doing this somewhere in Cape Town. That's why you're here, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll get those details out to you if you have any more questions. But to you, Deputy Governor, thank you so much for joining us on the Flash Drive.
Thank you very much.
We really appreciate that. And there we go. That's the proper response to the currency that you actually need. No fake news here, only the real stuff on the Flash Drive on KFM 94.5.
The show that drives you home with the most music. The Flash Drive with Carl Wastie. Only on KFM 94.5.